Revealed, how a humble maid transformed the life of a billionaire playboy in an incredible 30 days. Mary's alarm shattered the quiet of dawn, a shrill reminder that her day was about to begin. Most people were still snug in their beds, she, however, was already pulling on her work uniform. Tall and lanky, she often felt more like a shadow in the luxurious homes of the Chicago suburbs she cleaned. But today felt different. Little did she know, her life was about to collide with a world that seemed so far removed from her OWN.as the sun rose, illuminating the suburban sprawl. Mary's thoughts were consumed by her family. She supported her two younger siblings, sacrificing her own dreams like a moth drawn to an impossible light. Each morning, her hope flickered alive. Yet, every evening, as she returned home to the clutter of her small apartment, her heart weighed heavy. What if they could escape their struggles? What if she could give them a better life? It wasn't until she was hired by Jake, the infamous billionaire playboy, that the walls of her world began to shake. The mansion stood before her like an old friend she'd never met, a colossal structure echoing wealth and whispers of neglect. Mary felt out of place, like a worn-out coin in a fountain filled with gold. But as she stepped through the impressive door, she noticed something else. Shadows lurked behind the swirls of opulence, hinting at a different kind of loneliness. At first, Jake was as distant as the stars. He had spent years behind a mask of charm and bravado, but Mary's presence began to peel it away. She hummed while dusting the grand piano, her laughter reverberating through empty hallways that hadn't resonated with such warmth in years. It was sparkly, alive, the kind of laughter that lit up more than just the air around her. At dinner over takeout, their conversation settled into an easy rhythm. He spoke of extravagant parties filled with feigned laughter, while she talked about her simple home, where the rare moments of joy were packed tightly as layers in a sandwich. Each word from her mouth painted new colors on Jake's canvas of life. Her resilience pierced through his shell, igniting a slow yearning for something real. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but just as the connection deepened, a scandal broke news. Jake's family, entrenched in the elitist circles, threatened his budding integrity. The weight of expectations crashed down on him, leaving him gasping for fresh air. Meanwhile, Mary's dreams were knocking louder than ever, a poignant reminder of her responsibilities back home. There, at the crossroads, as late autumn leaves danced outside the mansion, Mary felt torn. Should she chase her own aspirations or throw everything away for someone who had shown her that life's treasures were meant to be shared? Every heartbeat resonated with urgency, courage clashing against familial duty. On the brink of a life-altering decision, Mary stood. Her chest tightened. Would she soar toward her dreams or remain in the embrace of a love that felt like salvation? Tension crackled in the air as their urban fairy tale hung in the balance, fraught with uncertainty. The next chapter awaited, riddled with possibilities and consequences, each moment echoing loud and clear. What would she choose? The mansion felt cavernous, the weight of the silence wrapping around Mary like a thick fog. She paced the grand hallway, every inch draped in luxury, every corner whispering tales of love long lost and happiness traded for privilege. Her heart raced as she recalled the laughter that had filled those halls, her laughter a sound that had somehow made the monstrous structure feel like home. Jake stepped into the room, the air shimmering with tension. His eyes were stormy. "I can't believe my family would stoop this low," he muttered, running a hand through his tousled hair. There was a vulnerability about him, a glimpse of the man beneath the polished exterior that she had come to admire. "I'm sorry they're doing this to you," Mary responded softly. She wanted to reach out, to comfort him, but every time she did, doubt clouded her mind. Was it right to involve herself in his world, especially now? "You deserve better than this drama." He scoffed gently, yet his gaze softened as he looked her way. "Thank you, Mary. But with so much at stake, I can't let you get caught in the crossfire." His words hung in the air, heavy with the reality they both faced. "So what do we do?" Mary asked, a new determination fueling her. The weight of her family's dreams barreled back into her thoughts. Her siblings' eyes sparkled with ambition, and their futures depended on her decisions. "Maybe I could just distance myself from it all," Jake responded, biting his lip as if weighing the words. "Cut off ties with my family for a while. What's the point of all this wealth if I can't even breathe?" Her heart quickened at the idea. It echoed her own thoughts of breaking free from expectations, the dreams she had tucked away for so long. "Jake, that could work, but what would it mean for you? Running from who you are?" He took a step closer, and for a brief moment, the space between them felt electric. "I don't know, Mary. The truth is I don't know who I am without all of this." His arm waved dismissively towards the opulent walls, a gesture filled with frustration and confusion. That a thought struck her like a bolt of lightning. What a cruel joke it was that he felt like a stranger in his own skin while she had spent a lifetime trying to make the best out of her circumstances. They were both searching for meaning in their lives, though their paths seemed carved from different materials. "Maybe it's time to create something new," she suggested, her voice steadying. "You could redefine yourself beyond these walls. Let us find a way to break free together." Their eyes locked, moments stretched taut between them. Here was the chance emerging of two worlds, fragile yet compelling, but as she spoke the words, something flickered in the corner of her mind. The looming responsibilities of her family whispered insistently. Could she really chase after a shared future? With a sudden clarity, she understood that the choice she made wouldn't merely shape her life but would ripple through the lives around her siblings, Jake, and even the mansion that had begun to feel like more than just a place of work. As she opened her mouth to voice her thoughts, the front door swung open with the creak of impending danger. The lawyer who had been connected to Jake's family stormed in, his expression grave. "Jake, we need to talk. Now." Her heart plummeted. This was the moment everything turned. Would Mary's courage carry her forward, or would the weight of reality crush her hopes once more? What awaited them on the other side of this doorway might change everything. Mary's breath caught in her throat as the lawyer stepped into the room, his tailored suit stark against the grandeur of the mansion. His presence was commanding, and the authority in his voice made Mary's heart race with apprehension. She could feel Jake tense beside her, his body rigid as he processed the urgency of the moment. "What is going on?" Jake asked, a tremor of anxiety creeping into his voice. He was no longer the carefree man she admired, he had transformed into someone facing an impending storm. The lawyer took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for the words that were about to emerge. "There are serious allegations against your family, Jake. The estate is in jeopardy, and we need to act quickly to protect your assets." His words hung heavy in the air, each syllable resonating with the weight of harsh reality. Mary watched Jake's face pale, his confident demeanor cracking. "Allegations? What do you mean?" His voice was barely above a whisper, the light in his eyes dimming. "There are claims of mismanagement, that your family has been living beyond their means. If we don't respond immediately, there could be legal ramifications and a potential loss of the estate." The lawyer's gaze flickered to Mary, a fleeting moment of recognition. Perhaps he too saw the storm brewing between them. "I can't believe this," Jake muttered, running a hand through his hair in frustration. The distance in his eyes told a story of unraveling. It mirrored the chaos of his life that had once seemed so manageable. Mary felt her chest tighten. This was at the moment when all the dreams she had about breaking free collided with the crushing reality surrounding Jake. She took a step forward, her voice firm but tender. "Jake, you don't have to face this alone." He turned to her, vulnerability cracking through the surface. "What can we do? I'm not equipped to handle this. All I have ever known is wealth and privilege. What do I know about fighting legal battles?" Her heart ached for him, for the boy who had ventured into a world full of expectations only to find himself trapped. "Maybe you don't have to fight it alone. I've learned how to navigate challenges. Together, we could strategize, figure this out. Jake's eyes softened, and for the briefest moment, the fear melted away. You really believe we can take this on together? His voice was laced with hope. Mary nodded, feeling a surge of determination. We can build our own paths. You have a voice too. Just because they've put up walls doesn't mean we can't find a way around them. The warmth in her words wrapped around them like a lifeline. The lawyer crossed his arms, impatience flickering on his face. As touching as this is, we're out of time. We need to act fast. The next steps must be taken immediately if we're to prevent a financial disaster. Just as the weight of the situation pressed down on them, a flicker of resolve ignited in Jake's demeanor. You're right, Mary. I can't allow my family's failures to define me. It's time to stand up for myself, he declared. The words hung in the air, the tension shifting as determination began to fill the space. But could they truly unravel the threads that had tangled their lives? Before Mary could respond, the lawyer interrupted. I need to know what you're willing to risk to save your family's legacy. The question lingered, thick with implications. Would they gamble everything they held dear for the chance at a new beginning? As they faced this pivotal moment, a deeper worry crept into Mary's mind. Was she ready to walk down this path with Jake, knowing that their lives could change irreversibly? The answer remained just out of grasp, hanging over them like a fragile thread waiting to snap, ready to send them tumbling into the unknown. Jake's breath quickened as he considered the lawyer's words. The weight of the estate, his family name, their legacy was suddenly heavier than it had ever felt. It was no longer just a matter of wealth, it felt personal, like a betrayal of who he had wanted to be. What would we even need to do? He stammered, his fingers interlacing nervously. Mary stepped closer, her determination igniting a flicker of resolve within him. We start gathering information. We need to understand these allegations, who's making claims, what evidence they have. There will be a paper trail somewhere. The lawyer nodded, a glimmer of approval breaking his stern facade. Exactly. Documentation is key. If we can show that these claims are unfounded, we can counteract them before they escalate. Jake looked from the lawyer to Mary. In that moment, he realized how deeply he trusted her. Okay, he said, his voice steadier. Let us do it. But I need your help every step of the way, Mary. This isn't just about the estate. It's about my family and, honestly, me. Their eyes locked, and she saw the fear mixed with hope in his expression. It was a raw moment, the two of them standing at the edge of chaos, ready to take the leap together. Of course I'll help you, she replied softly. I'm not going anywhere. Jake felt a flicker of warmth spread through his chest. It felt good to have her by his side, ready to fight. Let us get started, then. The lawyer pulled out a folder filled with papers. First, we need to set up a timeline. I'll help you navigate legal jargon, but you need to be honest with me, Jake. Any secrets or discrepancies could sink us. Jake nodded, the gravity of the situation sinking in further. He glanced at Mary, who had already begun jotting down notes, her focus unwavering. Jake's heart swelled with admiration. She was the steady hand he needed in this storm. Okay, he breathed out, looking at the lawyer. Where do we start? Accounts. I want to see your family's financial records over the last couple of years. We need to establish a clear picture of how the money has been spent. Financial records, Jake echoed, suddenly feeling a rush of dread. He had avoided the details of his family's finances for years, opting instead for the carefree lifestyle he'd known. But could he dive into that world now? Mary reached out and touched his arm gently, grounding him. We'll tackle it together. Just take it one step at a time. As she reassured him, Jake thought about the implications of unearthing family secrets. What lay hidden beneath the surface could change everything. Right, he said, almost to himself. Let us do this. But even as they spoke with urgency, a knife of doubt twisted in Jake's gut. Would the truth be something he could handle? What if it shattered the remnants of his family he was trying to protect? The lawyer began outlining the next steps, but Jake's mind wandered, suffocated by uncertainty. Mary's voice brought him back. Jake, we just need to stay focused. He nodded, reminding himself of the purpose. They weren't just fighting for money or status but for freedom from a past overpowering him. As they organized priorities, the tension in the room thickened, reflecting their internal struggles. Jake caught a glimpse of frustration and fear on Mary's face. She was battling her own demons with him, staying strong even as cracks formed in their shared resolve. Just when it felt as though they might be able to move forward, the lawyer's phone buzzed against the table. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. This can't be good. They all leaned in, hearts racing as the lawyer answered the call. What new blow awaited them? Jake's stomach twisted. Was their fragile plan already falling apart? Mary glanced at him, worry shadowing her face. As she squeezed his hand gently, he hoped they weren't about to face an even more daunting truth. Could they endure the storm brewing ahead, or would this reveal shatter everything they hoped to build together? The lawyer's voice turned serious, his brow furrowing deeper with each word he heard. I see, he finally said, his tone devoid of the calm assurance it had held moments prior. Jake's pulse quickened, adrenaline surging through him. He could feel Mary's grip tightening on his hand, her fingers cool and steady, a lifeline in the rising tide of anxiety. Jake, the lawyer said, turning to him, we have a situation. Jake swallowed hard, his throat dry. What do you mean? What is going on? The claims against your estate, they're more serious than we thought. Someone has provided evidence that there are financial irregularities, inconsistencies in how funds were allocated and, worse, allegations of fraud. The air around him thickened, that word hitting him like a punch in the gut. Fraud. It felt foreign, almost like an accusation thrown into the center of their small room. Jake's eyes darted to Mary, searching for any sign of hope. Who is behind this? Jake asked, frustration creeping into his voice. The lawyer shook his head. That's what we need to find out. The documents are vague, almost as if they were meant to sow doubt without showing the whole picture. Mary squeezed Jake's hand tighter, her voice a soft whisper. We'll figure this out together. You're not alone in this. Jake nodded, but the fear gripping his heart refused to let go. Thoughts raced through his mind. What had his family been hiding? Had everything he trusted been built on lies? Next steps, the lawyer interrupted his thoughts. We need to launch an investigation into these claims. We'll start gathering evidence to counter them. But Jake, I need to know everything. No more secrets. Jake's heart sank further, quicker than he thought possible. He considered the late-night discussions he had overheard as a kid. Conversations elderly relatives had whispered behind closed doors about money, about calls for help, about the family's reputation. Okay, he agreed, though his voice faltered. But right now, I'm not sure I even know everything. Start with what you do know, the lawyer urged. We unravel this thread at a time. You might even need to confront some family members, ask them directly what they know. If there are secrets, they'll have to come out. Confrontation. The word rattled through him. His family had always valued loyalty over honesty, shrouded in a veil of pride. But if he had any hope of rebuilding the crumbling foundation of his family legacy, he needed to unearth whatever lay beneath. Mary's voice was steady, pulling him back from the abyss of doubt. You're strong enough for this. He took a deep breath, feeling determined yet terrified. Would diving into the dark waters of his family's past have a light waiting at the end, or would it pull him under? Let us meet with my family. The sooner, the better, Jake finally said, trying to muster courage. He was struck with a sudden realization the truth, however painful, might be the only way to set things right. As they began to piece together a plan, a quick knock at the door made everyone jump. The lawyer opened it to reveal a tall, middle-aged man Jake recognized instantly, a distant relative, someone he'd met only at family gatherings. He looked grave, as if he bore news neither Jake nor Mary were prepared for. "I heard about your situation," the man began hesitantly, stepping inside. "There is something I need to tell you." Jake's heart sank again, dread coiling in his stomach as he exchanged a worried glance with Mary. What else could possibly come crashing down on them now? The man took a deep breath, preparing to unveil secrets that had been buried for far too long. How much further would this journey go, and would they emerge intact on the other side? The man paused, his gaze shifting between Jake and Mary, uncertainty clouding his expression. For a heartbeat, the room felt frozen in time. Jake's heart raced, he braced himself for the revelation that could shatter what was left of their fragile world. "What is going on?" Jake finally pushed through clenched teeth, his voice firm but trembling. "Your uncle, he isn't who you think he is," the man said, each word like a stone dropping in water, sending ripples of confusion through the air. "There is more to this family than meets the eye." "What do you mean?" Mary asked, her voice steady but filled with concern. The man rubbed his temples, visibly trying to gather his thoughts. "I have information about a deal made years ago. It wasn't just about business, lives were involved. And your family, they covered it up." "What kind of deal?" Jake's mind reeled. A veil of dread wrapped around him, tightening with every second. "Something that connects to the allegations against you. It goes way back when your grandparents started building the estate. They took risks, and not all of them were legal, but everything was buried under layers of normalcy. I was hoping it would stay that way." But now he met Jake's gaze. The truth is creeping back to the surface. Mary's grip on Jake's hand tightened as if sensing the storm brewing within him. "What do you know? Please just tell us," she urged. "There was an investment, a risky one. It involved people losing their money, their livelihoods. I don't know all the details, but whispers have echoed through our family for decades. Your uncle's role. He was at the center of it all, playing puppet master behind the scenes." Jake recoiled, the weight of the truth crashing down upon him. It felt like the ground beneath him was shifting, his family's legacy turning to ash in his mouth. Why didn't someone say something sooner? Why was it kept hidden? Fear, Jake. Fear of losing everything they built. Fear of being judged, ostracized. Secrets like these, they hold power. But now it's crumbling. Your estate is under scrutiny, those who lost out are looking for someone to blame. Suddenly, everything began to align in Jake's mind, the quiet whispers he had overheard, the furtive glances during family gatherings. This was bigger than he imagined, more dangerous than he wanted to admit. "Then it doesn't matter what we do," Jake said, his voice breaking. "It'll always come back to this. How do I fight what I don't even understand?" Mary stepped closer, her presence solid. "We find the truth. We turn over every stone. If this is really about your uncle, we can confront him." "I don't want to." Jake shook his head, dread clawing at his insides. He'll deny everything. And if he is hiding it, who knows how far he'll go to protect himself. "We have to try," Mary urged, steady determination in her voice. "It's not just about your reputation, it's about standing up for what's right, for those who were wronged. You can't let this fear paralyze you." Jake took a deep breath, feeling the tremors of anxiety give way to a flicker of resolve. The path forward was dark, lined with uncertainty, but he could no longer turn a blind eye. "Fine," he said, the words spilling from his lips like a confession. "Let us confront him. I need to know the truth." At that moment, the gravity of their decision bore down on them like an approaching storm. As they prepared to face the unknown, a thought echoed in Jake's mind: would his family's hidden past be his darkest secret, or could it lead to redemption? Just then, the door swung open again, this time with a sharp crack that echoed through the room. A woman stepped inside, her face pale as if she'd just seen a ghost. "Jake, you need to listen to me, there's something else you don't know about your uncle." Jake's stomach dropped. As the revelation loomed closer, he felt the weight of everything crashing down around him, and he braced himself for the tumultuous waves ahead. Would the truth set him free, or would it trap him in a storm he could not escape? The woman's eyes darted between Jake and Mary, her breath hitching as if she had just run a marathon. "It's urgent," she insisted, her voice barely above a whisper. "You need to understand who your uncle really is. It's not just about business or investments, it's personal." Jake felt a tingling in his fingertips, a mix of curiosity and dread blending into a fog of confusion. "Who are you?" he managed to ask, finding strength from somewhere deep inside. "I'm Clara. I've worked for your family for years, first with your grandparents and now with your uncle. I've seen things that you wouldn't believe." Mary shifted nervously beside Jake, squeezing his hand again. "What have you seen, Clara?" Clara exhaled sharply, the weight of her words heavy in the air. "Your uncle is involved in more than just shady investments. He's been entangled with people who are dangerous. Those whispers you heard? They're rooted in truth. Those years he spent building that empire, he didn't just step all over his enemies, he buried them." Jake's heart sank. He had an uncle who seemed charming and captivating, a man who always knew how to beguile those around him. But now, that image was fading. "What do you mean, buried?" "People went missing, Jake." Clara's eyes shimmered with a mix of fear and resolve. "Your uncle knows how to cover his tracks, but I've seen too much. I've met families who've been torn apart. I've watched as they searched for answers, only to be silenced." The room spun around him. Jake felt as if he was teetering on the edge of a cliff, and the ground below was giving way. "Why are you telling us this now? What do you want?" "I want to help you," Clara replied urgently, stepping closer. "You need to know the truth, but also how to protect yourselves. I can't just stand by while this man continues to destroy lives and ruin your family. The truth could set you all free, if you're willing to face it." Jake's head was spinning, thoughts raced through his mind like wild horses. "And what do I do with that truth? Confront him? What if he comes after us too?" Mary's voice broke into the chaos, steady and strong. "We need to act. If your uncle is capable of harming innocent people, then he needs to be stopped. We can't let fear dictate our actions any longer." Jake looked at Mary, her intensity igniting something deep inside him. "All right." His resolve solidified like ice forming on water. "What do we do first?" Clara leaned in closer, her voice low and serious. "It starts with gathering evidence. We need to uncover everything, files, recordings, witnesses, whatever we can find. I have some contacts who might be able to help us, but it's risky." Jake's pulse quickened at the thought of diving into this dark underbelly of deceit. "And if we dig too deep? What if we end up like those families you mentioned?" "Then you fight," Clara said simply, her blue eyes fierce. "Like those families did. Like you have to. Truth always finds a way to the light, even if it takes time." Mary nodded. "We can do this, Jake. Together." Jake clenched his jaw, feeling renewed purpose course through him. "Okay, let us do it. Let us get to the bottom of this together." Just then, the uncertainty in his heart crashed heavily against his bravery. Would they find the truth and emerge victorious, or would they unleash a tempest they could never handle? With Clara's gaze steadying him, Jake felt a surge of determination. They were about to step into a nightmare, but maybe, just maybe, they could turn it into their awakening. And as Clara turned to lead them out, a chilling thought anchored itself in Jake's mind: could they emerge from this dark maze with their lives intact, or would they become just another chapter in a story of betrayal? The fluorescent lights dimmed as Clara ushered them down a narrow corridor, the tension threading through each step they took. Jake could feel his heart pounding like a drum in his chest, a continuous reminder of the urgency of their mission. The world he thought he knew was now woven with secrets, suspicion, and a sense of dread that clung to him like a shadow. "Where are we going?" Mary asked, her voice steadier than she felt, glancing up at Jake for reassurance. He gave her a brief nod, trying to summon courage from deep inside. To my car, Clara replied, quickening her pace. She glanced back at them, her expression a mix of determination and fear. We'll drive to a safe place where I can share more. Trust me, you'll want to know everything before we take any action. They stepped outside, the cool night air hitting Jake like a splash of cold water. He paused for a moment, taking in the darkened streets, the flickering lights of nearby buildings. It felt surreal, as if he had stepped into a movie about betrayal and secrets. But this was his reality now, and that thought sent a shiver down his spine. Clara opened her car door and motioned for them to get in. The interior smelled faintly of leather and something floral, a contrast to the chaos swirling in Jake's mind. As they settled into their seats, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that danger lurked just beyond the shadows. Clara started the engine, the rumble echoing in the stillness of the night. "All right, let us talk," she said, her voice steady despite the tension that crackled in the air. "First, you need to know about the people your uncle associates with. He's not just a businessman, he's a player in a much darker game." Jake leaned forward, his hands gripping the edge of the seat. "What kind of game?" "Think about it," Clara said, glancing in the rearview mirror. "Money is power, but it can also be a weapon. Your uncle has crossed paths with organized crime, people who don't shy away from violence. They've helped him build his empire, but he is also indebted to them." "Debt?" Mary echoed, her voice trembling. "Yes, and it's not just financial. Loyalty comes at a cost, and when you owe someone like that, well, he might be forced to do things you wouldn't imagine. Your uncle is in deep, and if he feels threatened, he could lash out. They aren't just going to let him walk away." Jake's stomach twisted at the implications. "So, what are we up against? What do you know?" Clara took a deep breath, her brow furrowing. "I've seen files, things that would blow your mind. People he has harmed, businesses he has destroyed. And it's all to maintain his power and wealth. If we're going to expose him, we'll need tangible proof to take a stand." Jake felt the weight of that statement settle on him like a heavy cloak. "How do we get that?" His voice was barely above a whisper, the fear creeping back into his throat. Clara looked at both of them. "I have a friend, someone who works in the background. He has access to information we can use. It's risky, but we're running out of time. Your uncle will sense that you're looking into him soon enough." Mary's hand, resting on Jake's leg, felt warm and grounding. "We're all in this together, right? We won't let him intimidate us." The car lurched slightly as Clara made a sharp turn, steering them away from familiar streets. "Together, yes. But we have to be smart. There will be consequences for uncovering the truth. It's messy, dangerous, and there will be no turning back." Jake felt his heartbeat quicken. A part of him wanted to crawl back into his comfortable life, far from this impending storm. But staring into Mary's determined gaze, he realized he couldn't turn away. He owed it to the families Clara spoke of, to those taken by his uncle's ruthless pursuit. "All right," he said, resolve filling him. "Let us do this. What's the first step?" Clara smiled, albeit with uncertainty lingering in her eyes. "We start with the truth, but be ready. It might not be what you expect." As they moved deeper into the night, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of impending dread. What truths lay hidden in the shadows, and would they be able to face them head-on? His thoughts spiraled as the darkness closed in around them, a precipice, waiting to plunge them into a world where every choice was steeped in danger. Would they be prepared when the real test came? The answers felt like they were just out of reach, but they were approaching fast. The city lights blurred past as Clara navigated the empty streets. The hum of the engine filled the silence, but Jake could hardly hear it over the racing thoughts in his head. Each twist and turn seemed to lead them further into the unknown, pulling them deeper into a shadowy game that felt beyond his comprehension. "Do you know where we're going?" Jake asked, his voice strained with anxiety. Almost there, Clara replied, eyes focused ahead. Just a few more minutes. Mary fiddled with her hands in her lap, glancing nervously between Jake and Clara. Do we even trust this friend of yours? What if it's a setup? I wouldn't have brought you here if I didn't trust him, Clara said, her voice firm. He's been in this world a long time and knows what's at stake. If anyone can help us, it's him. Jake sensed the weight of those words. Trust was a fragile thread dangling over a vast abyss. His mind raced with thoughts of his uncle's empire, the lives destroyed in his wake, and how they could possibly expose it all. A wave of fear washed over him. Why had he chosen to dive into this? Yet, there was a flicker of something brighter, a determination to fight against the darkness that had ensnared his family. Clara slowed the car, turning into a dimly lit parking lot. Here we are, she said, turning off the engine. Stay close. They stepped out into the night, and Clara led them to a low building with faded paint. Jake's heart thudded in tandem with his footsteps as Clara knocked on the door and it swung open. A tall man with a scruffy beard and kind eyes stood before them. You made it, he said, pulling Clara into a quick hug. It's risky out here. This is Mary and Jake, Clara introduced them, glancing at her friends. They're in this with me. We need your help, Tom. Tom nodded, ushering them inside. The room was cluttered with papers, old files stacked high, and the flickering of a single light bulb added to the atmosphere. I have some information you need to see, he said, motioning them to a table covered with documents. As they gathered around, Tom flipped through the papers. Your uncle's connections go deeper than you realize. There are links here, people, places, transactions. It's all a part of a much larger web. Mary gasped as he laid out a particularly damning sheet. He's involved in smuggling. How could he do this? Clara placed her hand on Mary's shoulder. It's not just him, it's the people he's involved with. They crush anyone who stands in their way. Jake felt the tightening in his chest. Reality hit with the force of a freight train. The man he'd admired since childhood was wrapped tightly in the grips of corruption, and now, they were entangled in this dangerous mess. What's the plan? Jake asked, determination surging through him. We need to act fast. Tom looked at him, eyes weighing the gravity of the situation. If we want to make a real impact, we need proof, something that links him directly to the crimes. Just then, behind them, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hall. Clara's eyes widened, filled with urgency. We need to hide. Without thinking, Jake grabbed Mary's hand and ducked behind the cluttered desk, pulling her close as the door swung open. In that instant, Jake's heart raced even faster. Who had come in? Were they too late? The world outside seemed to freeze, holding its breath, waiting for the next move. Would they be discovered? The tension peaked, and Jake knew everything hung in the balance. They were right in the crosshairs now, and he braced himself for whatever was about to unfold. Were they about to face their worst fears? The door creaked open slowly, the dim light from the hallway spilling into the cluttered room. Jake's heart thundered in his ears as he and Mary pressed against the desk, barely breathing. Shadows danced on the walls, and all he could think about was how close they were to losing everything: the truth, their lives, each other. The silhouette of a figure stepped in. Tom. A voice gruff and familiar made Jake freeze. It was his uncle, the very man who had spun a web of deceit around their lives. Jake squeezed Mary's hand tighter, feeling the intensity of their fear intermingling with a sense of anxious determination. Stay quiet, Tom whispered to them, eyes wide with alarm. They watched in silence as his uncle scanned the room, his expression a blend of anger and concern. I know you're in here, Tom. You think you can hide? Jake's stomach churned. What was his uncle planning? The man who stood before them represented everything they fought against, the very essence of corruption and darkness that sought to clutch at Jake's life. I'm warning you. You're playing a dangerous game, the uncle growled, pacing like a caged animal. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Mary's face blanched, the gravity of their endeavor weighing on her. But there was something remarkable in her eyes, an unwavering resolve. Together they reached through the veil of fear to grasp the power of truth. It was time to strip away the mask of deception. "Jake," Tom whispered urgently, "we need to get that evidence. If he senses we're here, he could lose it." Jake nodded. They had to find a way to turn this moment around. Could they use the opportunity to gather what they needed? The uncle leaned against a wall, tapping his foot impatiently. "You think I'll let you expose me? Not a chance. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my family, whatever it takes." Jake held Mary tight against him, steadying both their breaths. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about standing up for the people hurt by his uncle's actions. And now was their chance, his moment of realization that the love and support around him was his greatest strength. "I won't let you destroy lives anymore," Jake found himself saying, his voice trembling but resolute. His uncle turned sharply, disbelief etched on his face. "You think you can challenge me? You don't know the power I hold." Jake's heart was racing, but as he looked at Mary, he found solace in her presence. "You're not invincible. Not anymore. We know what you've done. We'll make sure the truth comes out." The words hung heavy in the air, echoing like a wake-up call. The uncle's laugh was chilling. "You think you can just expose me? You have no idea how far my reach goes." But Jake felt the power surging within him. He understood that the truth wasn't simply a weapon, it was freedom. Freedom for the families tangled in his uncle's cruel grasp, and freedom for his own soul. Clara, behind them, started digging through papers, feverishly seeking evidence on the desk. If only they could find the one document that linked his uncle to everything. "Search," Jake urged, urging Mary to help. They moved in sync, without another thought, fueled by desperation and hope, pouring through files, scanning the pages for any clue that could nail his uncle's greed to the wall. Just then, a loud crash echoed down the hall, overriding the tension of their current moment. Someone else was coming, a slamming door clattering in the distance. They could hear voices, angry voices shouting. "Time to go!" Clara exclaimed, her eyes wide with urgency. "We'll have to split up." "No!" Jake shouted through the rising panic, suddenly afraid of what would happen if they got separated. "We can't leave anyone behind." But they didn't have a choice. His uncle's gaze was narrowing, ready to attack. The realization hit hard: if they didn't act now, the truth could be lost forever. They had come too far to turn back. "I'll create a distraction," Jake said, moving toward the door. If he could give them cover, they might escape with evidence they needed. Mary grabbed his hand fiercely, stopping him. "No. We fight this together," she insisted, her eyes blazing. "I don't want to lose you." He looked at her, fear gripping him, but her resolve lit a fire in him he hadn't known was there. "Okay, together," he promised. Tom nudged them, whispering, "We have to time this right. When they come in, we'll take our shot." With hearts pounding, they murmured their plan, huddled close, minds racing. The shadows moved closer, the background noise lifted, a cacophony of danger clamoring at their doorstep. This was it, everything hinged on how they faced this moment together. Then, the door swung open, revealing a figure. It wasn't just family or business, it was betrayal trained on them. It was time for Jake to shed the shadows of his past, face the storm head-on, and fight for everything he loved. The truth would light the way, and with that, the storm surged. They were ready. They pushed forward, together into the darkness, as a fierce, unwavering fire burned within them. In this battle against his uncle, they would fight for truth, for love, for every shattered dream. Their fight was only just beginning, but the heartbeat of hope resonated strong and firm. Together, they would emerge into the light. This was their moment. Their transformation had begun. Please, subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share your feelings about this thrilling ending in the comments. You need to let us know your reactions. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You know the power of truth, and we are all in this together.